Gunfire echoes through the Crystal Palace bar grill. Two armed men stormed through the mahogany doors, assault rifles raised, masks covering their faces. 37 patrons dive for cover behind overturned tables. Crystal chandeliers shake with the impact of bodies hitting the floor. But Marine Sergeant Jessica Torres, who'd been quietly mixing drinks for 2 years, doesn't even flinch. What happens next will change everything you think you know about the people serving your drinks. General Richard Hayes had chosen the Crystal Palace for its reputation. Upscale clientele, discreet atmosphere, the kind of place where senior military officers could discuss sensitive matters without worrying about who might be listening. He'd been nursing his whiskey for 20 minutes, waiting for his contact, when the front door exploded inward, everyone on the ground. Now, the first gunman swept his rifle across the dining room while his partner moved toward the bar. Professional tactical formation, controlled advance. These weren't desperate amateurs, they were trained. General Hayes dropped behind his table like everyone else, but his eyes remained fixed on the woman behind the bar, Jessica Torres. He'd been watching her work for the past hour, impressed by her efficiency, clean movements, situational awareness, the way she positioned herself to maintain visual contact with every customer while keeping her hands free. Now he understood why. The second gunman pointed his weapon at Jessica. Open the register. Move slow. Jessica raised her hands, palms visible, and moved toward the cash register with the kind of deliberate calm that comes from training most people never receive. No problem. Just stay cool. Her voice carried no fear, no panic, just professional competence. That's when General Hayes realized Jessica Torres wasn't just a bartender. Faster. The gunman stepped closer. Close enough that his rifle barrel was 3 feet from Jessica's chest, close enough to see the tattoo on her forearm, a globe and anchor, the Marine Corps emblem, close enough to make a fatal mistake. Jessica's hands moved like liquid lightning. Left hand deflected the rifle barrel toward the ceiling while her right hand struck the gunman's throat with surgical precision. The weapon discharged harmlessly into the ornate tin ceiling as the gunman dropped, gasping for air. 2 seconds. That's all it took to neutralize the first threat. The second gunman spun toward the bar, but Jessica was already moving. She rolled across the polished mahogany surface, using it as cover while drawing the .45 pistol she'd kept concealed beneath her apron. Military training never leaves you, she thought. Even when you're trying to forget it. Drop your weapons. Jessica's voice had changed. The friendly bartender was gone. Someone else had taken her place. Someone with 3 tours in Afghanistan and a Medal of Valor she'd never mentioned to anyone. The remaining gunman froze. His partner was unconscious on the floor. His carefully planned robbery had become a tactical nightmare in under 10 seconds. He was facing someone who moved like smoke and thought like lightning. You military? He asked. Former. But some habits die hard. General Hayes watched from behind his overturned table as Jessica maintained perfect sight alignment while keeping her position concealed behind the bar. Professional stance. Controlled breathing. Finger properly indexed along the trigger guard until target acquisition was confirmed. This wasn't a bartender who'd learned to shoot. This was a warrior who'd learned to mix drinks. Here's what's going to happen, Jessica continued. You're going to set your weapon on the floor and kick it away. Then you're going to lie face down with your hands behind your head. Anyone gets hurt, and I stop being friendly. The gunman looked around the room. 37 witnesses, security cameras, police sirens already audible in the distance, his partner unconscious and possibly seriously injured, and facing him, a woman who'd just demonstrated the kind of combat skills that end careers permanently. He set his rifle on the floor and assumed the position. Smart choice, Jessica said, moving around the bar while maintaining target acquisition. She kicked the weapons away from both suspects, checked the unconscious gunman's pulse, and began zip-tying their hands with restraints she'd apparently kept behind the bar for exactly this purpose. General Hayes stood up slowly, his mind racing. In 34 years of military service, he'd seen plenty of combat-trained personnel in civilian jobs, but he'd never seen someone transition from bartender to tactical operator so seamlessly. Ma'am, I'm General Hayes, U.S. Army. That was impressive. Jessica looked up from securing the suspects. Just doing what needed to be done. Sir, what's your background? For 2 years, Jessica had avoided this conversation. She left the Marines because she wanted a quiet life. Normal problems, customers who complained about weak drinks instead of rocket attacks. A workplace where the biggest threat was running out of olives. Third Battalion, 2nd Marines, 3 tours. Afghanistan, mostly. What was your MOS? Security forces, close protection, some other things. The other things included advanced combat training, urban warfare specialist certification, and 18 months as a personal security officer for senior military officials in active combat zones. Skills she'd hoped never to use again. Why bartending? Jessica finished securing the second suspect and stood up, holstering her weapon with practiced ease. Wanted something different, quieter, less shooting. Police sirens were getting louder. In the distance, she could hear the distinctive sound of tactical vehicles, heavy engines, multiple units, the kind of response that suggested someone had reported shots fired in an upscale establishment. Less shooting, General Hayes repeated. How's that working out? Jessica smiled for the first time since the incident began. Still working on it, sir. The front door burst open again, but this time it was Metro PD tactical officers, weapons drawn, voices coordinated, movements professional. Jessica immediately raised her hands and identified herself. Jessica Torres, former Marine, lawfully armed, suspects secured. The lead officer surveyed the scene. 2 unconscious suspects, zip-tied and disarmed. No casualties among the patrons or staff. Weapons secured and obviously handled by someone who knew proper evidence preservation procedures. Ma'am, can you walk me through what happened? Jessica provided a concise tactical summary while General Hayes watched her interact with law enforcement. Professional courtesy between people who understood operational realities. Precise terminology. Complete situational awareness maintained even while answering questions. This wasn't someone who'd been lucky. This was someone who'd been prepared. 20 minutes later, after statements were taken and suspects were transported, General Hayes approached Jessica at the bar where she was calmly cleaning glasses as if nothing unusual had occurred. Can I buy you a drink? I'm working, sir, but I appreciate the offer. What I saw tonight. That level of tactical proficiency doesn't come from basic training. Jessica continued polishing a whiskey glass, her movements steady despite everything that had just happened. Marines get good training, sir. Some Marines get better training than others. He was fishing, and they both knew it. Jessica had been careful never to discuss her actual military service with customers. Her official record showed standard security duties. Her classified record told a different story entirely. Sir, I mixed drinks before the excitement started. I'll mix drinks after it's over. Everything else is just maintaining the peace. General Hayes studied her face. Professional composure. Tactical awareness still active. The kind of calm that comes from having survived situations that would break most people. The way you moved tonight. I've seen special operations personnel with less precision. Everyone serves in their own way, sir. 3 days later, a video appeared online. Security camera footage from the Crystal Palace showing Jessica's response to the armed robbery. Within hours, it had been shared thousands of times. News stations picked it up. Social media exploded with speculation about the bartender who'd moved like a trained assassin. The video went viral for all the right reasons. Comments poured in from veterans who recognized professional techniques, law enforcement officers who appreciated proper tactical procedures, civilians who were amazed by Jessica's composure under pressure. But for Jessica, the attention was exactly what she'd been trying to avoid. General Hayes returned to the Crystal Palace a week later. Jessica was working the evening shift, serving drinks with the same quiet efficiency she'd displayed before becoming an internet sensation. How were you handling the fame? Same way I handle everything else, sir. One day at a time. I have a proposition for you. Jessica set down the glass she'd been cleaning. Sir, I'm putting together a security team. Executive protection for high-value targets. The kind of work that requires people who can blend into civilian environments but respond to threats with military precision. Respectfully, sir, I left that world for a reason. What if I told you the threats were following you whether you wanted them or not? He slid a manila folder across the bar. Jessica opened it to find photographs of the 2 gunmen from the robbery. Intelligence reports. Background investigations that revealed connections to larger criminal organizations. They weren't random. General Hayes continued. They were testing security responses at upscale locations, gathering intelligence for something bigger. Jessica studied the documents. The tactical formation she'd observed made more sense now. Professional reconnaissance, systematic probing of law enforcement response times, detailed assessment of civilian reactions to coordinated threats. What kind of something bigger? The kind that requires people like you to stop it. Jessica closed the folder and pushed it back across the bar. Sir, I appreciate the offer, but I've found my place. Good customers. Steady work. Nobody shooting at me. What about when the shooting starts anyway? She didn't answer immediately. Around them, the Crystal Palace hummed with normal evening conversation. Business people discussing deals, couples sharing quiet dinners, regular people living regular lives, protected by the assumption that someone else would handle the dangerous problems. The video made you famous, General Hayes said quietly, but it also made you visible. People like those gunmen now know exactly who you are and what you're capable of. Jessica had been thinking the same thing for the past week. Peaceful anonymity had been her goal. But viral videos tend to destroy anonymity permanently. What makes you think I'd be any good at executive protection? Because 48 hours ago, you protected 37 executives without them even knowing they needed protecting. General Hayes left his business card on the bar and walked away. Jessica picked it up and studied the simple text. Hayes Security Consulting. When failure is not an option, she still has that card. And 3 months later, when another group of professional criminals made the mistake of targeting a restaurant where Jessica was providing discreet security for a Fortune 500 CEO, they discovered that viral fame hadn't dulled her tactical edge. The second video didn't go viral. There were no witnesses to post online, no security cameras to record her response, just 5 unconscious suspects and one very grateful client who never knew how close he'd come to becoming a statistic. Jessica Torres left bartending behind, but she never forgot the lesson it taught her. Sometimes the most important job you'll ever do is the one nobody notices you doing. Until the moment when everyone's life depends on how well you've been doing it. She still mixes drinks occasionally. Private events, corporate gatherings, situations where someone needs a bartender who can serve whiskey and tactical support with equal proficiency. The reviews are always excellent, the tips are generous, and nobody ever complains that their martini was mixed by someone capable of preventing international incidents. This is Jessica's story, but it's also the story of everyone who's chosen civilian life while maintaining warrior skills. The quiet professionals who serve drinks, drive trucks, teach school, and stock shelves while possessing capabilities most people never suspect. They're everywhere, these hidden guardians, blending into ordinary jobs while maintaining extraordinary readiness, hoping they'll never need to use the skills they've worked so hard to forget. And sometimes, when criminal elements make the mistake of testing civilian establishments, they discover that some civilians have served in places where testing the wrong person could be the last mistake you ever make. Jessica Torres mixed her last drink as just a bartender the night she went viral. Now she mixes drinks as someone who happens to be a bartender. The difference is more important than most people realize.